Good evening, and to all the newcomers, welcome. Those that don't know me, yes, I am a photographer, and I also don't like using the term professional. Photography is a way of life for me, and it has taken me to very, very far corners on this, Southern Africa, and for me, meeting of some incredible people. And then, as Johan also attested to, it is the subject matter that is so important, and how to get involved with your subject takes a lot of time. So I've specialized in whales over the last 18 years. Those that have listened to my first talk, that is my big love. But photography has taken me to places that are on land. I've been to the Kruger Park over 100 times. But as I become a guide and got a little older and sort of more wiser, I've met some phenomenal people. I am an acting guide at the moment. I've been a guide for probably the last 12, 13, maybe 14 years, and specializing in whales and birds. And that's because I live in Hermanus. But I've taken all my knowledge and my expertise, and having traveled Southern Africa sort of far and wide, I've met really some incredible people and sort of gone to some really incredible places. Now, tonight's story is more about, not about me. Yes, I'm going to show you my photographs, but it is one particular person that has used me as a guide for the last 5 years. An incredible person. I would love to have had her on the show tonight. She lives in Zimbabwe, and with forget about Eskom, their Eskom is 10 times worse than ours. And unfortunately, she won't be able to join us tonight. However, I will take the link later on and I will share it with her. This incredible lady, her name is Jo Buckley Lamb, and I regard her as an elephant specialist, not in the PhD realms, but more from a interaction perspective. I mean, she has really spent 30 years. She's from England, came out as a young doctor to Zim and never went back. And we've heard a lot of those stories. I mean, once that African sun gets under your skin, I mean, you are just hooked pretty much for life. So Jo and I, we've built up a fantastic relationship. She's only a year older than me. She has a terminal illness, and we met about 6 years ago. She came on a whale cruise, and funny enough, Ken Whaleman was in tonight's panel, or on one of the guests. He was the guide that day, but I happened to be on the boat, and her and I forged, let's call it a relationship. Her love for whales, and then ultimately her love for elephants, I discovered a couple of years later. After that first meeting, she got hold of me and said, I am very ill, but of course she doesn't show it. She says, I'm very ill, and I want to see as many elephants in every single park that you can take me to in South Africa. Not Southern Africa, but South Africa. So of course, I got onto the Loud Halo and started doing some investigation and research, and worked out a few packages for her. And yeah, we've done probably about 6 tours together, anything from about 7 days to last year, August, we did a 20-day excursion, which, believe you me, one-on-one is very daunting, and also very, you got two personalities, you're in close proximity. And I'll tell you now, once you start hearing the stories, yeah, we are actually like brother and sister. And I'm telling you, we fought a lot. We called each other names, but all in all, at the end of the day, our love for nature, but especially mine for whales, but hers for elephants. So me being the guide, the supposed specialist, I organized all these fantastic places. And I'll tell you now, to take a person where you are relatively sort of well versed around a subject matter, to then be almost put back into primary school, she was just absolutely amazing. So yes, I could take her to the places. So what I'm getting at is what I learned from her was it's just no money can buy that. I understand animals, I understand behavior. I've spent many, many hours with birds and whales, and funny enough, with elephants. But she taught me the real lesson behind elephants. So it's amazing that she's paying me, however, I'm learning from her. So just to all those younger people out there and the students that are studying nature conservation, there are many avenues. And I'll tell you now, there is no substitute for experience. And even at my age, I am still learning. And this is the type of life that I've been leading, spending so much great time with sort of really special individuals that sort of enlighten me. And through that enlightenment, I can then pass it on to, let's say, to the younger generation. And that's what's so important. So tonight's talk is primarily on, yes, I'm going to be showing you a lot of my what I believe are some amazing elephant photographs. And I've really worked, it's taken me a while to put this whole thing together. It's not all about just snapping an elephant. An elephant is a very difficult subject matter. They are big, they are dangerous animals. Yes, they are very docile. They come across, they are mammals. There is that connection. I think they do understand how we work as well. But there's that respect as well, where you can't cross the line. And many people, there are always going to be accidents. You try and get the best shot, and you push the boundaries, you're going to get hurt by an elephant. So without saying anything more, the way this talk is going to go, I'm going to introduce you to some of her photographs. And I'll tell you now, she's no mean photographer herself. She's I wouldn't say she's frail. She's probably, there you can see her standing next to me. She's about 4'11", maybe 5 foot with a push. But I'm telling you now, one very resilient lady. And I've seen her on sort of at lows on her medications, and then I've seen her when she sees elephants. It's almost, that is the medication that really is her zest for life. And Dres, I've really learned a lot about her, and I've actually spent a hell of a long time with her. When I say long time, or quality time, when you go out for 12, 14 hours in a day, leaving at 5 in the morning and coming back at 7, and then talking more around the campfire about the whales, just one-on-one. It is just, it is so enlightening, and yeah, it is just so informative, and you do that for 20 straight days. We went out last week, August, and we spent 20 days together. Yeah, there were 1 or 2 days where you just have to have a little time out, just sort of regroup from both sides. But yes, the common denominator is elephants. So you will see in the photographs, all the photographs taken are taken together. When I say together, she has been with me. And what I'm going to do now is tell you some of those stories. So places I've been to with her has been Addo 3 times. And believe you me, you'll see I've left the Addo elephants for the last, because from a photographic perspective, and I hope you're listening, Mr. Cassidy, but yeah, the Addo elephants are probably the best elephants to spend quality time with. You can go to a waterhole and you can sit there for literally 6-7 hours and get really close up, work the light, work the sun, and I'm telling you now, you can come up, and it will be in, the proof is in the pudding. So I'm going to go through Kruger. We went to Isimagaliso, we went down to Vidal, I went to Shishlui, went to Umfolozi, then we went to Tembe, and Tembe was my first visit. I know we got somebody that's just down the road in Duma. I hope you are on air now. I didn't quite manage to get there, but Tembe was just an eye-opener. What a special place. They had some fantastic specials over the COVID time, and I went on a self-drive. Now, those that have never been to Tembe or don't know about it, they only allow 10 private day visitors a day. And during COVID, we were the only, well, we were staying at the camp, but we were the only day visitors. I didn't see any day visitors. So normally what you get there is that the game viewing vehicles will go out at 5:30, 6 in the morning, be back at 9 for breakfast. The guys will rest, and then again, they'll go out 4:30. So we spent the whole day. We packed the cooler box, and I say this now starts leading into the stories. As sick as she is, this young lady, or this lady can drink a beer sort of man to man. And I'm telling you now, the stories we share when you're sitting at a waterhole, 38 degrees Celsius, As long as you've got a cold beer, really the stories just sound so much sweeter. So I'll start by going to the first couple of photographs are actually taken by Jo herself. I think these are out in Mana. She has spent a lot of time with the Wangi elephants, the Mana elephants, and then the elephants up at where she is actually right now in Vic Falls. But her Mana elephants are her babies. With Wangi, she did a lot of work during the drought times with the drought and setting up boreholes and water for the elephants. And yeah, she has a special bond with her elephants. I mean, spending 35 years with them, well, almost 35 years with them, she is really, and it's been a privilege for me to spend time with her. So I've taken her photographs, I've worked them a bit, given them a little more, she just shoots with her camera. She's got a little Nikon with her 500mm lens, but it's on P and she just shoots. And I've given it a bit of work and just give it a little more sort of feeling. But I'm telling you now, I've positioned them a bit, propped them a bit, but all in all, she sees it nicely. She takes a photograph. But on all the times we've been together, I've just said to Jo, just put the camera down. I will do all the photography and then I'll send you all the photographs. I think that's out at Mana as well, coming up a bank. Little youngster. She's also been up to Etosha. I've never been to Etosha, well, yet. That's on my to-do list. So she has done all the Southern African, Zambia, Zimbabwe, all the elephant reserves. Okay, so then I'm going to this is the last one of hers. And then, I've been around the block as well. I've been photographing since probably 1980, flat out film photography. And this is one of my better elephant shots. I took this in the Okavango, just outside Oddballs. This was off one of those Alu boats. This was taken in 93, I think it was. So I managed to just get this in time to put it on the talk. But now I'm going to go into the Kruger elephants. And it's amazing going through the different parks, how you see the different elephants, the different behavioral patterns, the different attitudes, and yeah, the different tuskers. And that's where Tembe comes in. I mean, you got some bigger tuskers in Kruger now that are coming through. But I'm telling you now, Tembe for volume. I mean, even the short tuskers, you can just see the circumference is just massive. These are real volume, and the next big tuskers on the African continent. That is in Umfolozi. This was in probably January. We've done 2 trips up there as well. Yeah, just lovely, playful elephants. Getting sort of information from her. Elephants generally, they need water. They don't like rain. They don't like too much heat. When it gets to midday, between 10 and 3 o'clock, that's when they like to go and bath. And bath they do. And just lovely, just spending time with them, watching the interactions. And they're just learning from her as well. The process of once they've finished their bathing rituals, they'll then go out and forage a little bit and then go and find a nice little dust trap. Then they start sort of dusting themselves off, obviously for anti-ticks or just a nice little covering, and that will protect them until the next day or 2. But yeah, how those rituals sort of happen. And she's like the commentator to me. I'm the one that's just photographing it and just sitting there taking it all in. Okay, we move on now to the Kruger elephants. And yeah, I am blessed. I think in 81, Mafunyani, I think it was, one of the Magnificent 7. I managed to photograph that. I unfortunately lost all those photographs in a flood. But yes, I saw one of the Magnificent 7. Some of the older folk, they will know those 1 or 2 of those Magnificent 7, where those tusks were actually touching the ground, where those males were actually walking with their heads up. Also Kruger now. Yeah, the Kruger elephants, I put them sort of middle of the range. They are quite, all elephants, you've got to just show that respect. Also Kruger now, this was our I actually went out, this was COVID now, when did I go there? March, I think it was. Yeah, March, April. we went in. I stayed on the Hans Marinsky golf course because they had special second to none. So I really got a half price compared to the price I would have got just at the basic camps. And it was almost like staying in our own lodge. But we'd go in, we were at the gate, 1 kilometer from the gate. We were there for 6 or 7 days. And all we were targeting were the ellies. So that central part of the Kruger, I sort of worked it all out over the years that I've been there. I found that was the best route to go. So between Kruger, Letaba, and then a little bit up, a little bit north, a little bit south. But that in between Letaba and Palabora, all those little jeep tracks that you actually need a high clearance vehicle, 4x4 I do have. So yes, we went into places where we spent the whole day and didn't see a single soul. And also even the animals were a little skittish because they weren't used to seeing cars. So yeah, that was a special time going last year. This is now really going through some of my sort of taking it through the foliage there, sort of using the green leaves as a lovely filter. This is the main dam, just sort of 10 k's from the Palabora gate. So now the whole sort of reasoning, or the whole story behind my story now with her, are the stories that come out. I mean, you spend time with this person, you get to know this person. I mean, we're dealing with 2 different people, 2 different cultures. But I'll tell you now, when you open that first beer and start talking, you really get to know a person. And part of the deal was, I know she's ill, but part of the deal was, she just said to me, when can we start drinking? So I said to her, okay, let's be, you know, we got the whole day, we'll pack the cooler bag. We're not going to come back for breakfast because she cannot eat. Most of her jaw has been taken away from the illness and the operations she's had. So she struggles with her speech, but she also struggles to eat. So she eats basically like a Complan. So eating is not an agenda. She takes in, boosters, energy drinks. So for me, with my beers, pretty much, the gates open at 6 o'clock. We fill out the COVID protocol. And then she said, okay, well, let's make it 8 o'clock. So I said, yeah, okay, 8 o'clock. It's still very early. And then she said, well, let's do it the first elephant we see. So I said, okay, let's do the first elephant. And I'll tell you now, the one morning we came out the gate, 6:10 in the morning, and we drove 1 kilometer down the road. And she was still faffing around a bit, getting herself organized. I managed to see an elephant crossing the road. So I thought, I'm going to keep quiet. Hopefully she doesn't see it. So knocked me down. She saw the elephant. So of course, the first thing she gets so excited. Really, it's just this ray of life. It just really, I mean, it just overtakes that illness. I mean, the medication she's on just has no effect. It's the elephant that gets her going. That zest for life. I just see that sparkle in her eye. And the first thing she says, it's time for a beer. I said, it's 6:10 in the morning, for goodness sake. So she opens one, she looks at me and then says, well, I'm having one. I said, well, knock your socks off. I mean, so then she says, well, I'm not going to drink alone. So of course, by 6:15, she's convinced me, she's opened a beer for me, and there we start. But it's not about drinking copious amounts of beer. It's about just driving around, sort of settling the nerves. And I can just see how she just settles into it. And then we go and sit at a water hole. Before you know it, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We've had 3 or 4 beers already and just chatting away. I'm positioning the car all the time to take these lovely photographs. If you look at this photograph here, probably the biggest female tusker I've ever seen. And you can see there the actual, they're very thin tusks. But for a female to have both her tusks that are actually both actually in contact or full, they haven't been broken at all. And lovely to see. The story she told me about this, obviously a matriarch, and she had about 3 or 4 youngsters with her. And she points them out. She says, well, that one, as you can see, is about 8 or 9 years of age. The other one is about 6 years, maybe 5 years. And then this newborn here, about 2 years of age. And then there were a lot of other younger bulls, other females that also had their probably first offspring. But this was the matriarch. I was just sitting for hours and hours. I mean, my photography is all about water and really capturing the real action. I like it in your face. Those that have seen all my whale photographs. But elephants lend themselves to fantastic photography as well. As I said, it's a very difficult subject matter, but this as well, you got to sit looking through that camera, waiting. I mean, this was just walking out like they were all, and then this one decided to fill its trunk with water and then make one almighty dramatic splash. I think we're just sitting up here waiting for Eskom to come off. Yeah, is it? Yeah, also a Kruger Elephant. Yeah, quite a long way away. I'm shooting with a 500 here and a 1.4 converter. Yeah, once again, once they've, we were in a dry riverbed here, just watching them going, looking, digging with their feet, making a hole of about 1 meter deep, and then sucking through that filtered sandy water. And once that is, you know, they've consumed their 50 to 100 liters, maybe a little more, and then the big sand down. Just lovely to watch the process. And it's amazing when you targeting one particular subject matter. Yes, all the other animals in a 20-day trip are there to photograph, but when you're just specifically going after elephants, you are just, I mean, you almost become an elephant, photographing them and watching them. We're now going over, this is a walk down to Cape Vidal. So these are the Isimangalisu Ellies. We're now in northern Natal. And yeah, really old boy this. I think we spent about 40 minutes, a very respectful distance. Yeah, this is also the 500, so I'm a good 250 meters away. We had a good car pileup of about either side, about 10, 15 cars. And these two boys just said, not a chance, nobody's going past. They were just slowly up and down, just foraging sort of in the road. Yeah, which leads me now to to another story. Yeah, as I said, Ellies have to be respected. I pretty much know my Ellies, give them at least 50 meters, watch their behavior. This was the whole day. We hadn't seen a single elephant. This is also on the Vidal Road, but still had a fantastic day. It was raining. We were 9 kilometers from the gate, and it was probably about 20 minutes before closing time. So it was pretty dark. I'm probably shooting at about a 2,500 ISO here, but it wasn't about the photograph. I got it nice and blurred here. I reversed the vehicle just to give it I could see where the pathway was, just to give me space, and switched the car off. I've got Joe sitting next to me. So the Ellie would walk past her 50, 60 meters away and then up the road and then into the bush. And Ellie stopped, I say a good 50 meters away, then looked at us. And I had my hand on the key and she just said, listen, if you start that vehicle, I'm going to clobber you on. So I didn't turn the ignition on. But I'm sitting there now. She's the client. I've got to look after my client. She's telling me now, just don't start the car. So Ellie starts walking towards us. So she's quickly sort of analyzed that this is not an aggressive elephant whatsoever. It is a big bull. Walked straight over to her window and just snapped my wing mirror off, just like that. Then leant against the A-pillar and the roof of the combi and gave 1 or 2 shoves. And my hand was still on the keys, and she just said, she didn't panic at all. She's still holding her beer. She had the knee up against the window saying, now listen, big boy, you're being very naughty. Just please move away. No panic, no fear whatsoever. And this big elephant, I mean, really, it just darkened the car. And I'm just thinking, this elephant's going to roll us. Anyway, took 1, 2, 3 steps back, and that typical elephant head shake. And then she said to him, now you go away and leave us alone. And what did the elephant do? Off it walked. So yes, there's damage to my vehicle, but that was the photo I tried to take with the 100, 400 mil lens. Obviously too close to even focus. This was probably as it snapped the wing mirror off. I was pretty much pooping myself. I thought, I haven't even got time to, this would have been a YouTube special, but there's no ways. I didn't even move. I was frozen stiff. And yeah, she's pretty much talking to it. And then what cheesed her off the most is that she didn't pat it. I said, no, you probably patted it, then it would have given me a good old flip. Okay, so enough of that now. We move on to Tembe. And I'll tell everybody that has never been to Tembe, what a beautiful, beautiful park. This is an elephant heaven, whether you go on a self-drive or just book in. I'm telling you now, this is 5-star at probably 2-star prices, really. It is well worth it. It is in the middle of nowhere on the Mozambique border. But I'm telling you now, fantastic reserve, well run, great staff, and yeah, the ellies were just magnificent. This is at one of the hides, this ellie rubbing itself up. There was a lion on the other side. I think the next photograph tells, no, it's not this one. Okay, anyway, there was a couple of lions on the other side of the water, and he got a little bit aggro with them. But now I'm sitting early morning at the waterhole, and quite a sizable tusker comes along. Anyway, this was just the baby tusker. Actually, this is the one now. Sorry, I just mixed the photographs up. This is the one where he's now sort of trumpeting at the lions across the waterway. This is the one now that comes down for a drink, the one that was drinking as well. And then, as I say, just when I thought this was the big boy, along comes the bigger boy. So the one on the left is the one that you've been seeing close up. But just look at those. For me, I mean, those are good, what, 45, 50 kg, maybe more. Not as long yet, but those are going to go all the way to the ground. But they've got real depth to them, those tusks. Yeah, I found the Tembe elephants, not aggressive at all. But once again, just that respect. If you had you were in the thickets there, it is very thick bush, very soft, sort of almost sea sand roads. If you did encounter them in the scrub, I mean, the best bet was just to stop, switch the car off, and just let them all walk by. Okay, so now we move on to good old Addo. Now, Addo, Addo's always been probably number 7, number 8 on the list. If I can get a trip to Kruger, or get a trip to the Kalahari, or get a trip to Botswana, or even Zim, that would be priority. Addo's just down the road. It's a 7-hour drive, but it's not really that real bush park experience for me. But after going for the last 6, 7 times now, and Joe and I have been there for the last 3 visits, and we've spent some real quality time there. And between Hapua Dam and 2 other dams within a 20-kilometer radius, we spent literally, well, I would say 10 hours a day at the 3 different dams, just photographing the ellies. And yeah, they are very, very accommodating. They allow you to, even with their little youngsters, to come so close. Now, just bear in mind, I'm dealing with a lady that is on heavy medication. Sometimes she was popping a few sort of low-end morphine tablets. And there are 1 or 2 days where she just wouldn't wake up. She just would say, I just want to spend the day in bed. So we booked out one of the lodges at, when I say lodges, one of the top, there are 2 bungalows, or 2 big bungalows at Addo main camp, at a very sizable price, just for her and I. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous, but it gave us the opportunity to sit on the patio and look at the waterhole. So the one day she didn't want to go out. She just said, I'm not feeling up to it. So I said, fine. So normally what I'd do is I'd wake up at 6. If she was still sleeping, I would go out for 2 hours, and she'd probably rise at about 9 o'clock. I'd have my breakfast. She'll have a comp plan. And this one particular day, she actually sat on the patio until 1 o'clock in the morning. The waterhole had a lovely spotlight that came on at about 7:30 at night. And pretty much by 10 o'clock in the evening, I mean, I'm pretty bushed. I mean, yes, sitting with her, just talking, but now time to go to bed because I've got to get up early in the morning. But there she sat. I got up at about after midnight just to check on her. There she was still sitting, and just sitting quietly on her own, just taking it all in. And all I'd go, Joe, you okay? No, my love, I'm fine. Okay, fine. I'm going to bed. Oh, no, see you tomorrow morning. So to sit from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the morning on her backside, on the same chair, it was just, for me, that is serious elephant commitment. So yes, this is the type of photography in all the time I spend with her. I mean, you sit 5 hours. Yes, you're quaffing the beers. It's hot. I mean, it also gets hot at Addo. And the summertime, yes, that 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock, also from 11 o'clock till 3, even 11 o'clock to 4, they just come and do their thing. Little junior, yeah, sort of had enough lying down. And of course, yes, the iconic elephant shots. I mean, you get so close to them. Also work in a little bit of the artistic thing. You know, you got to think of something different to photograph. I mean, the textures, the colors, you know, once they've had a bath and they dust themselves down, they all get together. I mean, the one day we had probably 35, 40 ellies all in the water together, but all on top of each other. And there's something, you know, that's how you would see them then dusting themselves and then rolling in the mud. And my little inverted African ear here, little junior having a suckle off mom. Yeah, nice depth here. I love my depth photographs. You know, you got nice focus here with the trunk and the head, then the ear, then the body, and then the whale behind, nicely out of focus, but it really gives you depth. And this is an ear from the side. Doesn't look like much to anybody. I've got to explain it. So it's an ear that is pretty much in my face. I've now focused on the side of the ear, and then to the left would be the body of the whale, of the ellie as it's flapping itself, and to the right is pretty much the head area. But yeah, just these are things you do when you probably on your 6th or 7th beer and looking for something creative. Look, the mud bath, this is what it's all about. You know, you've got the reeds in the background, even look right through at the back there, there's another ellie there. So you've got to create depth with your photography, and in mud, in brownness, in the bit of the green there is lots of color, lots of depth. So you really got to work your subject. I mean, I could be the next elephant here. I mean, how close are we? I mean, they pretty much walk, scratching themselves on the back of the combi, the front of the combi, pretty much sticking their trunks inside the car. I mean, the adult elephants are just, yeah, so lovable. And here's one that's had half a bath, now drying off a bit, but just look at those sort of aging lines. I mean, still a young little ellie this, but almost a little smiley face there. Yeah, early morning, get that early morning light, a nice good distance away. Once again, early morning, that real, just as the sun has come up, really looking at a bit of depth here as well. I mean, you know, don't be scared to cut off your subject matter. It's really, you know what you've got the depth. You see the second one, it's out of focus, but it gives you the whole feeling of, you know, of the elephant, the ears, the tusks, the trunks. Oh, getting nice and close to the trunks, to the ivory as well, the tusks. The ears not often seen. Obviously, you can see those veins in there, the cooling mechanisms. And then sort of 1, 2, 3. I'm not really a black and white expert, but every now and then, as I said, your creative side comes out while you're sitting there. The time when you're not supposed to photograph whale, I say whales all the time. Your internet cables, am I still there? I see I got a bit of a waiver here. Okay, yeah, so late afternoon again. You know, they talk about the golden hour, and that is really the time when you should be shooting all your shots. That is when you really get the mood, you get the colors, and look how that black sort of the background just sort of disappears, but it gives you an idea that they are in the bush, and there your subject matter sticks out pretty much like a sore thumb. And yeah, just a family dust off after a nice bath, a little junior there getting rubbed up by his younger sibling, and then mom and the bull on the left there, and a couple of the cousins. Yeah, very sociable animals. This is also one of the sort of sunsets at the, you know, you just get in the car at an hour before the gates close, just take a drive, and once again a full cooler box of beers, and just work the last light. Now, I said all Edo, a bit of a sepia tone here, sort of mixed with a bit of black and white, but really low sepia tone. But just all those folks out there just snapping away. Yeah, work your cameras, work around it. Always wait for that special moment. Elephants do this all the time. As soon as they slurp it up, they're going to squirt it out. So wait for that moment, capture that freeze frame moment. Yeah, this is a typical, yeah, most of these photos are all taken around Hapua Dam, pretty much, yeah, nothing special, just driving 10 k's to Harpoort Dam and driving around backwards and forwards to the next 2 waterholes. And that's all you do all day. Just look for the action. And there, a little bit later on in the afternoon, sun has gone down a bit, but it creates a different vibe. Oh, no, stunning how these elephants perform. 2 young bulls probably just sort of working out a bit of strength exercise. Yeah, family, a very family unit, very similar to Wales as well. I mean, these are the behemoths of land, the terrestrial giants. And yeah, you know, they have a very similar lifespan to humans, live to about 60, 65 years. And yeah, very caring as well, very family orientated. And yeah, very playful too. Yeah, look at the colors, you know, the dust, the browns, the rufous mud, and then when the water, it's almost like pastels being mixed in. And then of course, black and white again. Just note that female there, she had a collar on it. Look, I could have erased that. But I mean, that's just part of the deal. A lot of research goes into with these elephants, and probably a lot easier because they're a lot more accessible to your biologists and your scientists and your vets. But yeah, very close, very playful. Yeah, go to Addo and just enjoy it. I'm not promoting Addo, it looks like I am, but yes, if you want to take decent photographs in a short space of time, go in your sort of November, December, January, February. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so I think I'll finish off here on Addo. Oh, this is my finished. I think I was on about 6,500 shots for this. We were there for about 7-8 days. I think we were there for 8 days. And all I wanted was a water shot with a trunk straight in the air. I got some close-ups, but nothing, when I say close to that vertical takeoff, but it was literally the last day where this Ellie really put on a performance. But I had to have the camera sort of locked onto my eye too, and I almost felt it happening, and then it helped. Then it happened. So there was the bit of water spraying off the edge, and this ultimately, out of the 6,500 photographs, that trip, that ended up being the one that I really wanted. Okay, so we're looking at Wales now. We're going back to the Natal North Coast. Also, I spent on my last trip with her, we spent 12 days in St. Lucia. St. Lucia, very close to Istumagaliso and to Vidal. So, and then also only about an hour's drive to Shislui and Umfolozi. So 4 different parks within throwing distance, you know, time-wise. And she's also, I actually met her on a whale boat. So the big thing was she wanted to see whales, and hence that's why we spent our time at St. Lucia. So this was August last year, and it was COVID. I mean, there was absolutely not a single tourist in St. Lucia. So the whale boat was on standby, but was only going out on the weekend. And blow me over, the weather conditions on the 2 weekends we were there the weather was just inclement and just not conducive to any form of whale watching. So on the 13th day, the day we were leaving, I'd spoken to the skipper the day before, and I said, listen, buddy, this lady has now seen all the elephants. She wants to see a whale. We'd seen this photograph was taken from Cape Vidal. Funny enough, the day we arrived, it was bucketing down with rain, and for 12 days, this is what the ocean looked like. So we arrived at Vidal, which is 40 kilometers from St. Lucia, and the first photograph I took was a double breaching humpback. And you know, Ken Whaleman Moore, that's 20 years of experience. I mean, he will attest to it. This just does not happen every day. And there she was standing next to me, beer in the one hand, fag in the other hand. I don't know if she saw it or not, but I showed her the photograph. But she was standing next to me and just sort of leapt up and down, enjoy. So she just said, no, we've got to go and see whales. So the 13th day, the day we were leaving, the skipper phoned me at 6 o'clock in the morning, said, are we still on? There's a break in the weather. I looked at her, I said, we're the only 2 on board. It's going to cost $7,000 to hire the boat. She says, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's go. We waited 12 days. We were going to do 6 or 7 trips anyway. Let's go. So anyway, the 3 of us on the boat. It was a shore launch. And I'm telling you now, background, and I'll show you the next photograph. You can see the background. This massive storm was brewing. And to the left of this was, so that was to the west, to the east was clear sky. There's a sun shining, but the actual storm was approaching. There was lightning as well. Skipper was saying, listen, we've got to act quick. And he had these 200 horsepower motors, and he was basically looking for any bit of splashing, any bit of action. And we were darting between whales. And in about a 2-hour stint, we managed to get a breaching humpy right next to the boat. And we got this spectacular tail with this black curtain behind. I'll go to the next shot as well. Are we there? No, this one there, this one, yeah. Just with that, I mean, this just lends itself to, I've taken photographs of the last 18 years of whales, but I mean, these are days that just only come by once. And I say we waited, well, literally 13 days in one place for this day, and really it delivered. Now, when we were on the tractor going to get onto the whale boat, we jumped onto the boat, and then the tractor was about to push it in. She looked at me and she said, I would like to hear a whale singing today. So I said to her, and I rolled my eyes. Yes, Joe, that must be the medication talking now, but there's no chance we're going to hear a singing whale. Anyway, she's now adamant. I told old Benno, who was the skipper, I said, listen, buddy, you got to go and find a, sort of wink, wink. You got to go and find a singing whale for me. Of course, he laughed as well. We went out just after photographing this whale. It disappeared, submerged itself. And of course, the skipper now is just hanging around waiting for it to come up again. We were pretty much at the end of the 2 hours. We had to now go back. The weather was really coming in. The sea was starting to get a little rougher. And he said, look, I can't leave. I can't put it in gear now and go. I just got to wait for the whale to come up again, and then we can leave. And I'm telling you now, folks, blow me over. After spending the last 4 years with her photographing Ellies, and now this whale episode, all of a sudden she says to me, I can hear the whale singing. And I'm telling you, we kept quiet. I looked at the skipper. Skipper says, you know what? She's right. I can hear it as well. And I was the third one of the three. I said, I cannot believe it. So skipper said, I'm switching the motors off, which is, I shouldn't be saying this. You're not allowed to. You've got to keep the engine in sort of neutral. But of course, we are special clients. So he switched the motor off. And I'll tell you now, that whale sung along for probably about a minute. Now I look at the skipper, I look at her, and here's the three of us in tears. I mean, it is just laughable, but this is how serious nature is. I mean, our last day, we are now leaving to go back, driving from St. Lucia all the way back to Hermanus, and I've got a friggin' singing whale. And I'll tell you now, that's the first ever singing whale I've ever heard, probably the last one as well. I've got a good friend that's the whale unit is based here in Hermanus. Chris, who's busy with his PhD, and he's written his paper on 2 years in the very area between Cape Vidal and St. Lucia, spending 2 full years studying the humpbacks. He's written his paper on it. Anyway, I phoned him. His paper hadn't been sent in yet. And I phoned him. I said, Chris, have we got singing whales here in St. Lucia? So of course, bullshit. I said, Chris, I've even got a recording of it. We've got singing whales. Anyway, so the whole thing behind this is the whales only go past up the east coast when they get sort of to Mozambique, sort of off Madagascar. That is their mating and their calving grounds. And that's when they start their singing. That's when they start interacting and talking, males and the females. So of course, before the paper was submitted, he took mine as gospel, and he wrote in his thesis, we even have singing whales in St. Lucia. So, it's just that little bit that we add to science. And I will say, that was Joe preempting and saying, I want to hear a singing whale. And she got her wish. And really, these are the special moments when you're spending time with really a special person over these last 4 or 5 years. And yeah, it's just, the whole talk has been on Ellies, but it's also been about the person and the special bond that you forge with this person, and how you actually you spend time with these beautiful creatures, and how you get to understand them. You don't have to be a scientist, don't have to study it. There's no studying. You can study for 10 years in the classrooms, but if you're not out there with these elephants or these whales or any animal for that matter, if you don't see how they operate, see their movements, understand them, and over time you will start getting, you actually become one of them as well. So that pretty much was my message. Me being the guide, and how the guide was almost guided, even though I'm guiding her, but how much I've learned through my years of guiding. And the whole thing is, this is for future, for guides, even for scientists, marine and for land-based. You know, guys, listen to what the citizen scientists have to say, and just, you know, take, a lot of it is taken with a pinch of salt, but a lot of it is they talking the truth, and just listen to what they have to say, because they will probably teach you a thing or two. So yeah, I'm going to finish off. Jo is a podiatrist, and yeah, bless her heart. While sitting drinking probably by my 12th beer, she says, "Have you taken any photographs of the whale's feet?" I said no. So anyway, so I've probably got a whole collection of whale feet. Without her, I would never ever have taken photographs of whale's feet. So I will finish off this talk with some whale feet. That's just the last tail before it submerged and then started its singing. So yeah, nice to see a muddy, the toenails. I was told all about the toenails. I was told about the skeleton, and really, I've gone and looked at it, and it actually mimics that of a human hand, and how well they are cushioned. Then I've got one as they're walking, and how well they bend, and it's got the elbow joint, and it's got the wrist, and then even underneath, it's a very well worn set of Pirelli P7s there. Actually looks like all-terrain mud tires. So yeah, that can you imagine how that has walked the earth, and that's what she gets joy out of. For me to now show her that gives her that keeps her will to live just going through. And then she hates me taking photographs of her. I managed to find this photograph, and there's that happy soul. She gave me a little bit of a pose, but look, there's a cigarette in the hand. She probably put the beer down as well. But yes, one very special person, and it really has sort of been a great 5 years of my life. Yes, I guide a lot, but just to have this one person over those 5 years, it's just very, very meaningful. Thank you. Sure, a bit of a tearjerker there. Sure, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Dave. And I agree with you. You can learn so much spending time with the animals compared to what we learn in the books. I mean, we just learn the facts in the books, but the real essence of life with real biology is really spending time with the animals and everything that you have learned. So I hope that there's going to be a book about elephants soon.
Yeah, who knows?
Watching the space. Okay, so I'm going to open the floor. Are there any questions?
Oh, there we go, from Tessa and Jennifer.
Okay, let's start with Tessa. She's the first one on my screen.
Hi,
Tessa?
Dave. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tessa.
Okay. Dave, thank you so much for that presentation. It was absolutely fantastic. Some of the most magnificent elephant photos I've seen. I wanted to ask you, have you ever taken any pictures of an elephant giving birth?
No.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing, yes.
Yeah.
I've seen a few YouTube videos, but once again, you know, I've played golf for 40 years and I haven't had a hole in one. So, and I'm not a bad golfer. So yes, that's pretty much what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One for the bucket list. Eh?
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Tessa. Then I'm going to ask Jennifer Cole, I can't see the surname, to unmute, please. Cole Roo.
Hi there. I'm at Rouse, R-O-U-S.
Rouse.
Yeah. I wanted to mention to Dave to go and try one day to go and see the elephants in Damaraland in Namibia.
Thank you very much. I would love to. Funny enough, Jo has been to Damaraland to go and see the elephants. She has seen them. So yes, she's one up on me. She's actually more than one up on me. But yes, Damaraland is definitely on my list. even where else am I going to? I'm going to Sangha. So yeah, all invitations. Thank you. We'll be
If
glad to
sorry,
get
just one thing, Dave. If you want the details of a place, there are various places in Damaraland where these elephants are, but there's one place where it's pretty much just one vehicle taking people out to go and see them. You can't do self-drive there, but it's really amazing because you see these wonderful beings in the riverbed. Oh, sometimes you don't find them, but when you do find them, it's absolutely amazing. They really are so beautiful. Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you very much. One day, absolutely one day.
Make a plan.
Make a plan, yeah. Make a plan. My motto.
I'm going to ask Richard Masibedi to please unmute.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I just want to commend Dave for the wonderful talks, very relaxing. Like I said in the chat, you know, we see pictures of wildlife, of nature every day, but I don't think we see them through the lens of a professional, not a professional, a master, a master photographer like yourself. Mine is just a compliment. I mean, you have such a good art of making the most out of every single shot. That is really amazing. And I wonder how much of animal behavior you have to know, to anticipate moments, and do you need to know a lot of animal behavior to get great shots?
Richard, yeah, thank you very much for that compliment. Absolutely. You know, I've been photographing for 40 years and I photograph a lot, and I've spent, as I said, I've been to Kruger 100 times, and birds in Kruger are probably more my thing. But you know, when you go looking for your subject matter, other animals come along as well. So you get to understand through time. I mean, the old story, there's no substitute for experience, and that means no substitute. The more you go, almost the luckier you get. And you also got to go with intent, not too much of a plan, but spend time. You know, don't just stop at a waterhole and then, okay, nothing happening here. You've got to first stop and then at least half an hour, because things happen. You can't, so many people just rock up. Have you seen anything? Well, I don't even talk to those people. It's just like, no, there's nothing here. And then off they go again, chasing down to the next waterhole. You've got, and when something does arrive, that's when you got to, you can then, you got to watch the light as much as you're watching your subject matter. But the light is all important. And a lot of times you might not have favorable light, but then you got to work the light to your advantage. So you got to make things happen in pretty much a short space of time, Richard. So yeah, a lot of luck is involved as well. I mean, there's Jennifer asking about a birth. Yes, I'd love to see a birth, but I know I probably haven't even come close at all. I don't think anybody on the screen, maybe there is one or two, but that's a once in a lifetime, and maybe you never ever see it. So yeah, you spend a lot of time, you've got to think what you want to photograph, and that's where you saw those artistic shots. When you sit for 6-7 hours, you don't get bored, you start looking at other things. And when you sit and look at other things, behavioral patterns of an animal, that's when you start seeing how they work. You know, where does the baby run to? Where's the cousin coming from? What happens when the big bull comes along? That's when behavior changes. So, and you've got to be ready with the camera. That's the big thing. And obviously with digital now and mirrorless, I mean, you can shoot off 500 shots in no time. So to try and capture those real unique moments, like that elephant with its trunk up, I waited literally for 10 days for that photograph, and that's what I wanted. And if I didn't come away with that shot, maybe next time, and maybe not even next time. So yeah, thanks, Richard. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So that's what I also wanted to know. Is that how you got to know the elephants? You said you gave them names.
No,
Is it by watching them, or did they have names?
No, that's more with the whales. But I try to name my whales, but no, I don't name elephants. No, not at all. It's you go there and you try and suss out a herd. You try and find them. If the male is there, the biggest male. Most of the big bulls are on their own. But you try and find the matriarch, the female, and she's the boss. Everybody works around her. the youngsters get out of hand. She's the one that does the call it the cold calling, the calling that we can't hear. She will sort of put them in place again if they get a little bit out of hand. I mean, a young elephant is vulnerable even to lions, so she's got to watch around all the time, and she's the one that controls how the movements of the herd, where they're going to go. Yeah, so it's just years and years of time. I know we all love to spend 250 days a year in all the game parks, but it's all about time and money. We've got to work, and then the time you've got, whether it be 10 days or 2 weeks, you've got to try and maximize that. And especially as a photographer, you're a little more, you're not always with the family, which is the downside. I like to shoot on my own. Even with her, the fact that she understands the whales, it gives me more time, because she understands, when I say the whales, the elephant, she understands the movement, so she's okay. I'm not cheesing her off. She doesn't want to go to the salon or go and have lunch. She's prepared to sit there with me. But ultimately, on my own is when I'm the most productive. Because I don't have to answer to anybody, and then I can reverse and go forward 20 times if I want to. I know where I want to stop the car. I know what shot I'm after. So it's ultimately all about yourself. That's what makes a photographer.
Make that creativity come out.
Absolutely, and we all have a creative side. We're all different. We all look for different things, but everybody has a creative side, and you've got to work your creative side to bring out the great photographs.
Yeah. Well, we always say, because we work at the film company, and we're always saying that the creative side is not a 9-to-5 job. Like, it just eats you and it eats you.
Absolutely, yeah.
I also have another question. How are you able to take or were you able to take whale images while drinking? Like, what about seasickness?
Funny enough, never ever had a drink while photographing whales at sea. That's pretty much a no-no.
Okay.
So funny enough, no, I've never ever had a drink or a couple of drinks and photographed whales. However, with whether it be Khalagadi, where you're looking at lions at a waterhole, I'm telling you, when it's 40 degrees, 42 degrees, 44 degrees, I'm telling you now, you need to have a little bit of sanity and a little bit of pleasure as well while you're sitting at a waterhole. But honestly, I love my beers. 2 or 3 beers just relaxes you and sort of puts you in that mood as well. So that's
so in addition to that, what was the differences between terrestrial and marine photography?
Marine photography is very, very difficult. The boat is always moving. The subject matter is underwater most of the time as well. However, there are no trees in the ocean. There's no fixed roads, and that's the downside. Now, when a lion runs across, or even an elephant, I've seen elephants disappear into nothing in no time. So luck is a big thing, and that's if you understand their movements. Look for trails as well. Elephants make their trails. You don't stop at a trail, an elephant's going to come past sooner or later.
Okay. Now that was another question that we had, Ruan and I. The singing whale. What do you mean by the singing whale?
Well, making singing noises. A humpback whale has about 45 different key notes, and they are known as the singers of the ocean. Your dolphins are ticks and clacks. Southern right whales I've spent a lot of time with, but I've only heard them. We put a echolocator in the water, and we just managed to get a little bit of sound. But that's it. But a singing whale, the humpbacks are the singers of the ocean.
Oh, I didn't know that. So then, do you need an echolocator, or
no? Funny enough,
just from the boat you hear it like that?
We heard it without an echolocator, and that's what blew my socks off. Because I said, "There's no chance we're going to." But I went with her. I said, "Okay, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope we hear singing well." So that is probably even more unique than watching an elephant give birth. Really, that is so unique. I've never ever heard it.
No. Okay. Ruan, my signal's going to go off now.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dave. That was
pleasure.
a phenomenal talk.
That's
There we go. It's all there. Let's see. Andy, your hand was up. And then we'll get to Richard again. Andy.
Oh, thanks, guys. Dave, thanks very much. I'm sorry if you mentioned this in your first talk, but do you submit your photographs of the whales to any sort of database for identification?
Yes, I do. The databases I've sent, funny enough, humpback flukes. I have, yeah, I've probably got about, I reckon about 350 flukes in my arsenal. And at the moment, Gwyneth Penry is doing research in the Plettenberg area, but now we've just started this year. We've started, I'm sure Ken knows about that as well. They've just started the research on the inland or the inshore Brutus whales or brides whales here in the Amanus area. I have probably 12 years of Brutus whale. They look at the dorsal fins. Whereas humpbacks, they look at the fluke. The fluke is very serrated, and that is their ID, their fingerprint. Southern right whales, about 10 years ago, I submitted about 10,000 photographs for photo ID with their callosity patterns. And then about 85% of southern right whales have some form of white marking on the underside. And all my years of photographing the underbellies of the southern right whales, that has also gone for, you know, today with the algorithms and the databases, I mean, you just put it into a photo scanner, and literally within a minute or two, you have an ID if it has been photographed before. So yes, I am very much involved with submitting photographs, and I'm also speaking on Ken's behalf. I know he's also submitted a lot of photographs of whales for research.
No, that's brilliant. No, I put a comment, and you probably didn't have time to read it while you were talking. I just caught a program on the BBC here in the UK at the weekend. It's called Humpback Whales, a Detective Story. It's a British filmmaker who got his canoe got landed on by a breaching whale in Monterey.
Yes, I saw that.
And if you haven't seen the program, check it out. But there are guys in the States doing some, you know, amazing stuff on humpback whale ID and databases and all that. It might be useful for you guys to share ideas or something. Don't know, just an idea. I'll shut up. Yeah. Thank you.
No. Well, thank you very much, Richard. Just to give you one little bit of information on the humpbacks that have been sighted off the west coast of South Africa. So about 150 k's north of Cape Town, off Dusson Island, sort of Azefontein, sort of Saldanha Bay area. Over the last sort of 5, 7, 8, 10 years now, there's been this huge collection of krill plankton. And in 2019, in December, I went out, and now believe you me, I have the photographs to prove it. That's where I got all my fluke photographs from. We went out on a Saturday morning, I think it was the beginning of December. It was the 11th of December, 2019. And in one morning, I'm talking 5 o'clock launch, back at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I counted 1,000 humpback whales. 1,000. And this is the next phenomenon on all your BBC programs, all your Nat Geos. Watch the space. What's happening up that west coast is just, it's a world phenomenon. So yes, that's where I've got all my fluke photographs from. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Richard again, and then I'll move to Ken.
Oh, thank you. Mine is just a small comment, probably overdue, because the singing is the comment has passed for some time. So no, it's amazing. Your point is very important when you say, you know, community scientists meet ecologists and scientists, and they shouldn't be left out in science. You have captured a very unique moment of a whale singing, and I realize here, it's even hard to believe for many of us, the audience here. Of course, I'm not familiar with the whales. I'm from a landlocked country. I don't get to meet whales a lot, but I sense that it's unbelievable to many people, and reminds me of someone who told me that they met a singing snake Sounds crazy, but not a singing as such, but a snake, which we are often told from books that a snake, what's the word? I can't remember the sound of a snake, but it makes a small sound. But someone told me very convincingly that they've heard a snake making a sound. They actually got attracted by this sound, more like a sound of a bird, you know, that sound that you can hear from a distance. But when they got to where the sound was coming from, they found that it was a snake. I mean, that is unbelievable. It's hard to believe to anyone here, but I just like it's hard to believe that a whale was singing. You are right that sometimes to know the biodiversity that we have and to understand it, you need to spend time in the wild. So I was just adding this story to, you know, to your observation that you met a singing, you've observed a singing whale. So I mean, that's amazing. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, interesting.
Thank you, Richard. Cool. Then Ken, up next. There we go.
The program with the Happy Whale. Now, I've submitted photographs to Happy Whale where they then identify the flukes, and some of the photographs taken in Manus a year or two later in Argentina, and then back along the South African coast again. So they do check on these whales, and if you submit photographs of flukes to Happy Whale, it's amazing the results they actually get out of it.
Yeah, Ken, very much so. That whales on the west coast, and then also seen off the coast of Brazil and Argentina. So yes, that for scientists is, you know, it's information that is, yeah, it is just brilliant information, and it's all us citizen scientists that are out there with cameras, even the latest cell phones today. I mean, even from 100 meters, just take the photograph, because you can make out. I mean, even if it's a little blurred, it doesn't matter. You can still see a fluke or see a distinct marking on a whale. So, and that, as I say, you just put it into that database, and before you know it, it's so quick, boom, and then they can say last seen here, last seen there. And it's interesting then to know that we've got this cross ocean movements. You know, everybody thinks that they only come up the coast of Africa or go up the coast of Australia, but then it's so interesting when you see an animal that has swum 5,000-6,000 kilometers across the Atlantic or across the Indian Ocean to another continent. I mean, that is just mind-blowing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
Lovely.
David,
Thank you.
you see that they found 20 odd southern right whales in Saldanha Harbour mouth.
Yep. Yeah, and they've also found 30 other side of Robben Island. I mean, we've all heard of Jean Tresvant. If you haven't, go and check out Jean Tresvant. He's got a gyrocopter. And I mean, this time of the year, they're not supposed to be here, but things are changing. There are food sources coming through, cold currents bringing up the krill and the plankton. So yeah, to see 20 southern right whales off Saldanha, yes, it's known that they are there from time to time because of the food sources. But at the moment, the last 7 years, I'm telling you now, the food source that's come through has just been on another level. And hence, that's where all these humpies are as well, the humpbacks. I mean, 1,000 humpbacks in a day. I mean, I still can't believe it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ken. Cool. Then let's go to Madeline. Madeline, forgive me if I say wrong.
No, it's fine. It's Madeleine. But sorry, I've been an hour late because I'm in Belgium, so the time is like an hour in front. So I missed the whole talk. I'm sorry. So I might be out of context here. Just something about Belgium. Dave, have you ever like observed anything, any whales from the Belgian area, or have done any research near the European border?
No, unfortunately not. No, I haven't.
Is it usual to see a whale around the Europe area?
No, not at all. There are probably, I would say, around the UK coast. I've actually got a whole book on dolphins and whales of the United Kingdom. And I would probably push on about 25, 30 species, you know, from dolphins, porpoises, and certain whale species. So they are there. Yes, you don't get southern right whales there. You don't get northern right whales there, but you'll get, you know, you even had a humpback whale up the Thames River. So yeah, they are there, off the Azores as well, the coast of Portugal, lots of sperm whales. They are around.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Lovely. And just a mention there from Andy in the chat, and it is from the UK. We get humpbacks off the southwest coast of the UK. We get tuna, leatherbacks, whale sharks coming through as well. Thank you very much, Andy.